What if Earth didn't reach the new year? Right now, somewhere on Earth, someone is counting down. 10, 9, 8. In Times Square, a million voices rise together. In Sydney, fireworks paint the harbor gold. In Tokyo, temples ring with ancient bells. 7, 6, 5. Every year, humanity performs the same ritual. We gather, we wait, we welcome the future with open arms. 4, 3, 2. But what if this time? Midnight never came. 1. What if the clock stopped? What if time itself hesitated? What if Earth didn't reach the new year? It's 11:58 p.m., December 31st. The world hums with life. Satellites orbit in perfect synchronization. Power grids distribute electricity across continents. Thousands of aircraft navigate invisible highways in the sky. Everything runs on timing so precise, we've forgotten it exists. In Colorado, atomic clocks measure time to billionths of a second. GPS satellites beam their positions to Earth 18 times per second. The internet pulses with data, coordinated across time zones with mechanical perfection. This is civilization. Not buildings or roads or cities, but synchronization. At 11:58, a technician at the U.S. Naval Observatory glances at his screen. Something is wrong. A single millisecond discrepancy, barely measurable, probably nothing. He makes a note. Ray returns to his coffee. In London, a similar anomaly appears, then Moscow, then Beijing. The discrepancies are too small to trigger alarms, but they're growing. 11:59 p.m., 1 minute until midnight. In data centers across the world, servers prepare for the new year rollover. It's a moment they've been programmed to handle. They've done it before. But tonight, something is different. Network engineers at Deutsche Telekom notice synchronization errors. Packets arriving out of sequence. Timestamps that don't align. They run diagnostics. Everything checks out. Above the atmosphere, GPS satellites detect minute variations in their orbital timing. The constellation that guides billions of devices begins to drift, microseconds at first. At NORAD headquarters, deep beneath Cheyenne Mountain, warning systems flicker. Not alerts, just irregularities. Air traffic control centers report strange behavior from their systems. Flight paths calculating incorrectly, navigation data stuttering. Pilots are instructed to maintain visual separation. In power stations from Mumbai to Montreal, grid operators watch their displays with growing concern. Frequency synchronization, the heartbeat of electrical distribution, is fluctuating, not enough to cause blackouts. Not yet. At the International Space Station, an astronaut checking her watch against mission control notices they're 3 seconds apart. She mentions it on the comm. They laugh about it. No one is laughing in 30 seconds. 11:59 and 30 seconds. 30 seconds until midnight, until a moment that has arrived punctually for billions of years. But across the planet, atomic clocks, humanity's most precise instruments, begin reporting impossible data. They're no longer in agreement. Some run fast, some run slow, some seem to stutter. At the Bureau International des Poids et Mesures in Paris, where official world time originates, scientists stare at screens in disbelief. Their cesium fountain clocks are diverging. 20 seconds. Financial markets prepare to close and reopen in milliseconds. High-frequency trading algorithms, which execute millions of transactions per second, depend on nanosecond precision. The algorithms sense the timing anomalies. They begin selling. Automatically, protectively. 10 seconds. Every GPS satellite on Earth relies on atomic clocks. Without them, position accuracy degrades from meters to kilometers to nothing at all. Navigation systems worldwide begin displaying error messages. 5 seconds. In hospitals, medical devices, sync to network time, start showing conflicts. In laboratories, experiments requiring precise timing begin failing. In defense systems, encrypted communications lose synchronization. 4, 3, 2. The world counts down to a moment that is about to not exist. 1, 0. Except it isn't 0. The clock displays 11:59:60. Then 11:59:61, 62, 63. Midnight refuses to arrive. In Times Square, the bull stops mid-descent. The crowd's roar falters into confused murmuring. On television screens globally, countdown clocks freeze, then display gibberish. 65 seconds past 11:59 p.m., December 31st, a moment that shouldn't exist. Across the world, every system dependent on precise timing begins to fail simultaneously. The internet, built on microsecond synchronization between billions of devices, starts tearing itself apart. Routers can't agree on when packets were sent. Data arrives before it was transmitted, or years late according to system clocks. Websites vanish, streaming stops mid-frame. Messages disappear into digital nowhere. GPS satellites now completely desynchronized, broadcast conflicting positions. Every navigation system on Earth goes dark. 70 seconds passed. In airline cockpits, pilots watch their instruments fail. GPS shows their aircraft in multiple locations simultaneously. Some displays show them over the ocean, others over mountains. Some show coordinates that don't exist. They switch to manual flying, but air traffic control can no longer track them. The sky is suddenly full of invisible planes. 80 seconds passed. Power grids, which synchronize across continental distances using GPS time, lose their coordination. When electricity flows between regions, timing is everything. Milliseconds matter. Without synchronization, power plants can't maintain frequency. The grid oscillates wildly. Circuit breakers trip. Substations disconnect protectively. Cities go dark. 90 seconds passed. 100. Clocks everywhere display different times. Some stuck at 11:59, some showing random numbers, some counting backward. Time itself has become meaningless, and midnight still hasn't arrived. 2 hours passed when midnight should have been, though hours no longer mean anything reliable. Half of Earth is dark, not from night, from power failure. The electrical cascade happened faster than engineers could respond. Grid after grid collapsed, dominoes of darkness spreading across continents. Nuclear power plants, detecting grid instability, initiated emergency shutdowns. They're designed for this. Backup systems engage. Cooling continues, for now. But backup systems run on diesel generators with limited fuel. And without working clocks, without navigation, without communication, resupply becomes impossible. Aircraft, those that haven't landed, are running on fuel reserves, navigating by dead reckoning and prayer. Some make it down safely, others vanish from radio contact. In Seoul, Shanghai, Mumbai, megacities designed for 20 million people, subway systems freeze between stations. Elevators stop, traffic lights die. 14 million people trapped in their vehicles on highways that have become parking lots. No phones work. The cellular network, dependent on timing synchronization, more precise than GPS, collapsed within minutes. The internet, humanity's nervous system, is fractured. Some isolated networks still function, but they're islands in a digital void. No social media, no email, no streaming anything. No way to know what's happening anywhere else. Governments attempt to activate emergency broadcast systems. Radio still works, barely. It's analog. It doesn't care about precise time. But what do they broadcast? Remain calm. Midnight has been delayed. Please stand by. How do you explain that time itself has broken? In Colorado Springs at NORAD, officials face a terrifying question. Without satellite timing, their early warning systems are blind. They can't track missiles, can't coordinate responses, can't distinguish between a real attack and system failure. Every nuclear power is in the same position. Blind, paranoid, afraid. In bunkers beneath Washington, Moscow, Beijing, generals make the same decision. Prepare for the worst. Hope for the best. Launch nothing, not yet. 24 hours since 11:59 p.m., though no clock can agree on what time it actually is. The sun rose this morning, indifferent to human timekeeping. But civilization has no such indifference. Financial markets never opened. How could they? High-frequency trading, banking transactions, stock exchanges all require a nanosecond precision. Without synchronized time, there is no global economy. Every bank account, every transaction, every number on every screen depends on precise timestamps. Now those timestamps are meaningless. Is your mortgage payment overdue? Was it paid yesterday or next month? Nobody knows. The world's money didn't disappear. It just became impossible to track. In hospitals running on generator power, surgeries are canceled, not from lack of will or skill, but from lack of coordination. Modern medicine is a symphony of precise timing. Drug infusions, monitoring equipment, laboratory results. Without reliable time, that symphony becomes chaos. People begin to die from failures that would have been routine yesterday. Supply chains, those invisible networks that feed cities, collapse completely. Trucks can't navigate without GPS. Ships can't dock without coordinated timing systems. Warehouses can't track inventory. Supermarkets in London, Lagos, Los Angeles empty within hours. Not from panic buying, from the simple fact that resupply has become impossible. Cities hold 3 days of food in normal times. These are not normal times. In rural areas, some communities adapt. They have wells, farms, local knowledge. But in Manhattan, in Hong Kong, in Sao Paulo, vertical cities of concrete and glass, adaptation isn't possible. You can't farm on the 63rd floor. Governments declare martial law, but enforcement is impossible. Police can't coordinate. Military units can't communicate reliably. Authority doesn't evaporate. It simply scatters. Some neighborhoods organize, others descend into violence. Most just wait, confused and frightened, for someone to explain what happened. No explanation comes, because the people who might explain, scientists, technicians, experts, are trapped like everyone else. Their instruments dead, their communication severed, their knowledge suddenly useless in a world where time doesn't work. 72 hours since midnight failed to arrive. In Geneva, at CERN, scientists gather around battery-powered equipment. They're some of the few who still have working instruments. Particle colliders don't need GPS or internet. Just power, just time, and they're seeing something impossible. Earth's rotation hasn't stopped. The planet still spins at roughly 1,000 miles per hour at the equator. But something about that rotation has changed. The measurements are subtle, fractional, but unmistakable. Earth's rotational momentum is fluctuating, not slowing, not accelerating, fluctuating, wobbling, like a spinning top that's lost its stability. At the U.S. Geological Survey, seismologists with backup power notice similar anomalies. Seismic readings show vibrations that shouldn't exist. Low-frequency tremors propagating through the planet's core. Nothing catastrophic, not earthquakes, something deeper. In observatories still functional, astronomers point their telescopes at the stars. Celestial navigation, humanity's oldest form of timekeeping, should still work. The stars don't care about GPS satellites or atomic clocks. But what they see defies explanation. Earth's axial tilt, the 23.5-degree angle that gives us seasons, is oscillating, microscopically, but measurably. The axis is wavering. One scientist working by candlelight in an observatory in Chile calculates the implications. If Earth's rotational axis is unstable, if the planet's angular momentum is fluctuating, time wouldn't flow consistently, not because time itself is broken, but because Earth's rotation defines our experience of time. A day is one rotation. An hour is 1/24th of that rotation. If the rotation speed varies, even minutely, time becomes elastic. Some moments stretch, others compress. Not enough for humans to perceive directly, but enough to destroy every system built on the assumption that time is constant. The question isn't why midnight didn't arrive, it's why Earth's rotation destabilized. And the answer to that question is 11 light minutes away. The Sun. For 4.6 billion years, it has burned with reliable fury. Nuclear fusion at its core. Magnetic fields writhing across its surface. We've studied it for centuries. predicted its behavior, built models of its cycles. But the sun is not a clock. It's a barely controlled explosion held together by its own gravity. And 3 days ago, something changed. Solar observatories in Hawaii and Spain, running on backup power, capture images that shouldn't exist. A coronal mass ejection, a billion-ton eruption of plasma, tore from the sun's surface. Nothing unusual about that. The sun ejects matter constantly. But this ejection was different. It carried a magnetic field strength 30 times greater than ever recorded. When it struck Earth's magnetosphere, the invisible shield protecting us from solar radiation, it didn't just cause an aurora. It compressed Earth's magnetic field so violently that the planet's own magnetic structure recoiled. Like a bell struck too hard, Earth's magnetic field began to ring, oscillating, fluctuating, vibrating at frequencies that propagated down into the planet's core. The core, a spinning mass of molten iron the size of the moon, is what generates Earth's magnetic field. It also stabilizes Earth's rotation. When the magnetic field was struck, the core's rotation was disrupted. Not stopped, not reversed, perturbed, and that perturbation propagated outward, through the mantle, through the crust, into the rotation of the planet itself. Earth didn't stop spinning, it began spinning irregularly. Microseconds of variation every rotation, accumulating, compounding, enough to desynchronize every atomic clock, enough to make midnight impossible to define, enough to tear apart a civilization built on the assumption that time is constant. The solar storm wasn't aimed at Earth. There was no malice, no intention, just the random convulsion of a star that has convulsed for billions of years. We happened to be in its path, and our technology, precise, powerful, fragile, couldn't withstand the chaos. Not because we built it poorly, but because we built it assuming the universe would remain stable. We forgot that we live on a molten ball of iron, spinning through the magnetic tantrums of a star. We forgot that the only thing protecting us is an invisible field we barely understand. We forgot that time itself is just a human concept imposed on a universe that doesn't keep schedules. And when that concept broke, everything built upon it collapsed. 1 week later, though later is now a matter of consensus, not measurement. People count sunrises, mark shadows on walls, estimate time by hunger and fatigue, the way humanity did for thousands of years before atomic clocks. In some regions, society has reorganized. Local governance, barter systems, analog communication. In others, the collapse continues. Nuclear reactors, their backup generators exhausted, begin emergency shutdowns they were never designed to maintain indefinitely. Some succeed. Others don't. Radiation leaks in Pennsylvania, in Fukushima, in France. Not explosions, not Chernobyl. Just slow contamination of areas already abandoned. The cities haven't been evacuated. They've simply been forgotten. When food runs out, when water stops flowing, when violence becomes the only currency, people leave. They walk into the countryside, toward villages and towns that might have resources. Tens of millions migrate in silence. No buses, no cars, no coordination, just movement. The highways that once roared with traffic become trails of refugees. In orbit, the International Space Station continues its trajectory. The crew knows they can't return. Not without ground control, not without navigation. They have 6 months of supplies. They spend their time watching Earth, documenting what they see. The lights are almost all gone now, just scattered glimmers in the darkness. They take photographs, record videos, send them nowhere. There's no one to receive them. Sometimes they wonder if anyone will ever see what they're documenting. Sometimes they wonder if it matters. On Earth, in a university basement in Munich, a group of physicists makes a calculation. Based on seismic data, magnetic measurements, and orbital mechanics, they estimate Earth's rotational stability will restore itself. In approximately 900 to 1,000 days, the magnetic oscillations will dampen, The core will settle. Time will become constant again. But they also calculate something else. The infrastructure needed to rebuild atomic clocks, GPS satellites, power grids, and internet requires global coordination, manufacturing capacity, and resource distribution, all of which requires time, synchronized, reliable, constant time, the very thing that was lost. It's a paradox with no solution. Civilization requires technology. Technology requires time. Time requires civilization. And the cycle is broken. They publish their calculations on paper, hand copy them, send runners to other universities. Maybe someone somewhere will find a solution. Or maybe the answer doesn't matter. Because midnight never came, and now it never will. The world didn't end. That would have been simpler. An asteroid, a war, something with finality. Instead, the world just stopped being the world we knew. Somewhere right now, a child is being born who will never know what the internet was, who will never see a satellite cross the night sky, who will never check the time on a device more accurate than a sundial. They'll grow up in a world that still has sunrises and seasons, still has mathematics and music, still has stories about how things used to be. But they'll never understand why the old ones speak with such strange reverence about something called midnight. A moment when one day became another, when time, however briefly, made sense. We built a civilization on precision. Nanoseconds, microseconds, atomic vibrations. We measured the universe down to its smallest increments and believed that control was understanding. But we forgot something fundamental. Time isn't a thing. It's an agreement that the universe never signed. For billions of years, Earth spun in darkness. Creatures lived and died without ever wondering what hour it was. Mountains rose, oceans churned. Life persisted, without clocks, without calendars, without New Year's celebrations, and it will continue. Long after our cities crumble, long after our satellites fall, long after the last atomic clock stops counting, the planet will spin, the sun will rise, and time will pass. Not measured, not synchronized, not controlled, just passing, the way it always has, the way it always will. We thought we were so advanced. We thought we had time figured out, but time didn't need us to figure it out. It never did. Somewhere on Earth right now, someone is watching the sun set. They're not checking their phone to see when darkness will arrive. They're just watching, waiting, accepting that the night comes when it comes, and tomorrow, however we choose to define it, the sun will rise again. With or without midnight. With or without us.